You know, we are just constantly learning. And we have the idea that we're learning in order to do something. But that is the furthest from the truth. Because the learning itself is the doing something. We have practice. And the practice, we think we're practicing for something. But the practice is the life. Like we're practicing, preparing, getting ready to have a life. And then it's over. Where was it? There's this beautiful talk from this very young boy. He's like 8 years old, something like that, Indian. And he says, whatever you practice, you become very, very good at. Umadevi, whatever you practice, you become very, very good at. Yeah. So if you practice anger, you become very, very good at it. And then that's what you carry. That's what you are. If you practice compassion, you'll become very, very good at it. So he makes the point of this, whatever you practice, and this is the life. This is really the life. What you practice, and you choose what you practice. And of course, life will give you opportunities, and you'll think they're problems. You might. But it's what you choose to practice in those opportunities that becomes your own nature. Huh? Does that resonate? Yeah. Oh. So, okay. Om Namah Shivaya. So what we're discussing in Gita today is really the essence of the teaching. We're in the 18th chapter. We need to chant Gita Dhyanam first before we begin. But we're advertising it, we're previewing it. It's really the essence of the teaching. If we get it, we get the teaching, the entirety of it. So Gita Dhyanam is a loose sheet. There's a translation of. In the Kirtan book, there should be a loose sheet. You can chant with us. Lois, please look for it. I'm giving you an opportunity to join us in the chanting, so. Did you find the loose sheet? Okay, very good. Did we find? I'm not convinced that every single one, but there's been great effort. Umadevi in particular has been very involved in getting those out. Okay. In India, in study of the Gita, we would be chanting in Sanskrit. And this is just a lovely translation of it. Om. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf, and people of purified intellect are the drinkers. The milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay. We pick up at 18. Shlokas 13 and 14. So just a real quick background. This chapter, this discourse is it's the final discourse in the Bhagavad Gita, and the chapter is titled "The Yoga of Wisdom or Freedom Through Renunciation." And renunciation means to everyone letting go of something, right? Yes, letting go of something. That's renouncing. Okay. Each of us will have, and we had the discussion last night about renunciation, yes? Yeah? Did that resonate with some of us? That discussion? Proper renunciation versus improper renunciation was really the theme of the discussion from yesterday evening. So it fits exactly this. And that's the question that Arjuna asks. And by the way, we're in territory here that the ego sense absolutely despises. Because it holds to separation. It holds to the feeling of being separate, and it encourages desires and actions in order to complete oneself, in order to fulfill oneself. So, and this ego notion is like a living, breathing entity within you. It has a voice, doesn't it?
Yes.
It speaks to you, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So have you recognized that? Have you recognized it versus other entities which can speak to you inside in different ways? Have you seen?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
others always give good advice.
Sorry?
The other voice always gives good advice, and they're faint.
Yeah. So here's so in this discussion so far, Arjuna asked the question about renunciation. He asked, give me the wisdom of renunciation, really, about renouncing the actions which are for myself or renouncing the fruit of the actions. And the Sanskrit words are samnyasa versus tyaga. And then, so Lord Krishna starts the discussion, and he's describing sattvic renunciation, tamasic renunciation, dull or dark renunciation, and then rajasic, which is a self-centered kind of renunciation. And here's what he says. He says, you have to do your duty. And the way you know your duty is it's what shows up in front of you that you're capable of doing. And then what's sattvic renunciation? Sattvic renunciation is to do your duty, but to do it with no desire for fruit for yourself. So you may say difficult to do, impossible to do. It's fine. Just listen to the definition. Right? Just understand what he's saying. Just start there. He's not judging. He's just teaching. He's not judging. He's just teaching. And so you may say, I'm not there. It's fine. I'm not there. It's better to recognize I'm not there and then live your life. It's fine. Live your life. But at least there's a seed there that will likely be helpful in the future. Because many of us are in the stage where we have to accomplish something, and we feel very strongly, I have to accomplish something, and it's fine. So accomplish it and do it. The only one holding you back from doing it is yourself. And so don't hold yourself back. Do it. It's fine. It's fine. Do it. Do it. The Lord will support you. The universe will support you. It's fine. Do it. But he defines the renunciation if one wants to renounce. Now, the issue that we started with in the Bhagavad Gita is that Arjuna wanted to renounce, but what did he want to renounce? His duty. He wanted to renounce his duty. And Lord Krishna is telling him, fine, I love you, but I want you to understand that that's a mistake. He's coming from love. He's coming from love. He says, I just want you to understand that's a mistake. And so he does raise his voice because Arjuna is really into it. And some people would say, well, he raised his voice, he didn't love him or something. But from here I would say, well, there are times where somebody had to raise their voice to me because I was all caught up in my stuff. And so he says, you don't get it. You have to do your duty. And what is your duty? It's what's in front of you that you're capable of doing. And so Arjuna fits that. He was capable of doing. In fact, he was the best warrior there was in the time. And here was what was in front of him. And so he says, I don't want to do it. I want to go away. Arjuna says, no, you're best not to do that. So now he gets back at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, and he's talking about now Arjuna has learned a lot, but he comes back to that same question related to renunciation, and tell me what is proper renunciation. And so, okay, since you asked, Lord says to do your duty, but to renounce the fruit of that, or the expectation of the fruit. And how to renounce. So you offer it, you offer it. I don't want it. It's for you, dear Lord. And when we understand, we would see, and this is really the discussion today, you did all of this anyway. Even I am you. So if we really understand, this motherhood, you did this, right? You did this. So what's the fruit of it? The fruit of it is the child. Whose child is it? It's your child. Because you did this. And I'm just fine being the steward of it. I'll do my duty, but the fruit is yours. The child is yours. Huh? Yeah. Why do you want a child anyway? For what purpose? To propagate your name? To show the world how wonderful you are? So that you get money for it? So that you get power for it? So that you get recognized? You get a school named after you? Because look at this, or Tao, the school named Tao. So the sattvic renunciation is you do your duty. You do the best you can. You care about it. You really care about it. I really, really care about it. People would think you're so passionate about it because I'm in this and I'm getting something out of it, because we misunderstand. But you would be doing it because you really want to be of benefit to this world, or be of benefit to the absolute, or you really want to. And so you're going to do your best, but I don't want anything from it. That's sattvic renunciation, sattvic tyaga. And then what is tamasic tyaga? And we know this. It's the same renunciation that Arjuna was trying to practice, which is, no, I don't want to do it. I don't have to do it.
It's too much for me.
So Tao can take care of himself. It's just fine. Now, some days you'll feel like that. But if you did it, that's tamasic. That's dull, dark, tyaga, or renunciation. And then what's rajasic renunciation? Rajasic renunciation is, I don't feel good today. I'm not going to do it today. That's rajasic renunciation. That's exactly the way he defined it. Because I have pain, and so I'm going to have to tend to my pain instead of doing my duty today. So that's rajasic renunciation. Now that one and tamasic, those are the common renunciations in this world. You see that? Yeah. And the Lord says, those are not best for you. And we can have a long discussion about why it's not best, but you can kind of catch it just from hearing it. Right? What about Tao? At some level, what about Tao? What about all the people that were relying upon you doing the duty? Right? You're really going to put this pain? And by the way, the pain is just a teacher. Yes? And by the way, the pain is an opportunity. It's a test, because maybe what you're doing is very important. And so maybe what you're really doing is connecting with the divine through the action. And maybe your connection needs to be stronger. Who says my connection with the divine needs to be stronger? Be honest. And maybe it needs to be stronger. And so how to make it stronger? Do you see? I'm going to give you a little pain, and then you have a choice to make. Yes? Do you see that? Now you have a choice. And if you choose to devote, then you're going to be closer to me. Yes? And if you choose not to, you're going to be further away. Now, what do you want? You choose. I give you choice. The Lord says this to us all the time. I gave you free will, dear. You said you want me. Let's see. Now, is that a test so that you can prove to me your worthiness? No. It's an opportunity to purify. It's an opportunity to choose what's important, right? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't you need it? It seems like you need opportunities like this, right? I certainly did. So that's what's the issue with Rajasic renunciation. Whenever you say, I can't teach the class this morning because I'm not feeling good. I can't do this because I have a pain in my foot. I can't stand up. But if you really did the psychological study of what that pain is, and if you really did introspection and looked at why it comes, now, that doesn't mean that there's a place for self-care. It doesn't mean that there's not a place for self-care. But what is self-care anyway? So, okay, we'll set that over here for a moment. And then we continue in the same vein, because now here, 13, 14. Learn from me. See, we have an idea of what's happening. We have a really strong idea of what's happening. But then there's the question, is my idea correct? I don't know how often we check in on that. At some point I realized I was wrong about everything. Every single idea I had was wrong. The notion of who I am, the notion of what's good, what's right, what's wrong, I discovered every single thing is wrong.
What they taught in school.
So I became an empty cup. Glorious to be an empty cup. So now, from a state of empty cup, we can listen to what, and try to be an empty cup and listen. Learn from me, O mighty armed Arjuna, the 5 causes as declared in the Sankhya system, the wisdom system, for the accomplishment of all action. So who's doing what here? Learn from me. Learn who's doing what. The seat, which is the body, the doer, the various senses, the different functions of various sorts, and the presiding deity, also the 5th. So who's doing what? Who's doing what? So you do something. Who's doing it? The body's doing it. Yes? Yes?
Nature.
What about the mind? Yes? What about the senses, organs of action? Are they involved in doing? Yes? So Swamiji says, look at it from any point of view you like. You cannot escape the conclusion that the self is not the doer or the enjoyer. So, Jules, we were having the conversation yesterday evening about the motherhood thing. Who's actually doing it? So the body's involved in doing it, right? The mind is involved. The senses and organs of action are involved. And then it says the presiding deity. And in this case, the presiding deity, which is the mother, which is the mother instinct. Are you that mother instinct? Is that your experience? You said it's in the body's involved, but that's instinctive, right? So you can say the body knows.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like me.
Doesn't feel like me. That's a beautiful. So the body's doing it, but in this case, it's saying a presiding deity through the body. And we call that presiding deity. It has a name. We could say Lakshmi or something like that. But it's the motherhood instinct. And you know, every single, and this is a beautiful one because maybe you can really see it here. Every single animal, every single creature, regardless of language throughout the world, yes? Every single mother, yes? This same. And so here it would be said there's a presiding deity. So the absolute is in charge of everything, but there's a presiding deity which is an aspect of the absolute, which is that motherhood instinct. And it's always existed, and it will always exist. And so every mother everywhere experiencing motherhood, whether knowing on it or not, will always call on that presiding deity. Even not asking for it, still that deity will be called on and will be brought in.
Like by your soul?
By nature. By nature. Just by nature. Just by that which came before, and there are natural laws, right? Just by that which came before. So even where that soul is, that little soul, which is not a little soul, every soul is the same size, is called in with these conjunction of the cells at that moment, at that opportunity. So that's setting in place a series of events that will continue, normally leading to the birth. And you see that whole process is also nature, which is also a presiding deity. And then the coming out is nature. It's a presiding deity. It happens, yes? Unless the soul has withdrawn itself by that point. And then you call it something else. But you see it happens, so it's nature doing. You can say nature doing. And then even the instinctive, reflexive actions in terms of caring for the baby after the birth is a presiding deity. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? So this is actually the 5 that's being discussed. But the I isn't doing any of it. At some level, it's watching it, observing it. Yes? Is that your experience?
Yes.
Yeah. You're there. You're there.
Whoa, I'm doing this.
Yeah. And you're experiencing pain and like that, which is in the process, in the body and like this. So you're experiencing, but you're not doing. That's actually what Lord is sharing here. And thank you for the opportunity to use the example, because in an abstract, it would be very hard to understand, very hard to relate to. And so you can say I'm doing, but the reality of the situation is I'm not. I don't, because if I were doing, I don't know what I'm doing. And how would I possibly learned it? And who would I have learned it from? Right? Yeah. Nacharaj, Casey, does that resonate? Yeah. Okay. That's what's being shared here. But the ego arrogates it. The ego says, I'm doing it. You notice that? And then it says, my baby. You notice that? But how is it your baby? Because you didn't do any of this. Even the act that brought the soul in, the physical act that brought the soul in, if you actually looked at that, you would see the presiding deities there too. And you'd see the body's involved in it. But is it really your body? Ego says yes. But the body is the 5 elements. in some sort of a mystical alignment, in conjunction with each other and did you do that? Yeah, I concocted this body. You concocted that one. Why do they look similar? Did we compare notes? Oh, I made the sex urge. Yeah, I did that. Ego would say.
Yeah.
It's a sham. It didn't do a darn thing except take credit for stuff.
Nature provides. Yeah.
But then the ego says, well, since I did it, I deserve the fruit. But you tell me one thing it actually did, and I'll give you a party. Other than cause trouble for you, what did it do?
Right.
Other than cause you to be upset because you didn't get what you were supposed to get. But you didn't do anything. Dear Lord. Hari, tell me something you did once.
Nothing.
Nothing. Hara.
Yeah. I don't
And you want
used to
something.
think so.
And you've been doing nothing your whole life and you want something for that?
Peace and it's.
I want what you deserve. Well, you did nothing, so you get nothing. You deserve it. Oh, dear Lord, you crack me up. Does that resonate? Does it make sense? So what do you deserve? Which fruit is yours? Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Echo. Thank you for joining us. Safe travels, dear. See, it sounds wacky at some level, but does it make sense here? What do you deserve? And by the way, if you really look at it, you see, well, I didn't do anything, but I've been pretty well taken care of to this point. Yes? Yeah. And if you really look at your troubles, you're going to see they're always when that ego is asserting and saying, I want, I need, I deserve, I did.
They did.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, we're laughing about ego sense right now. So, yes. We're talking about how the ego says, I did this, I did that.
Right.
And we're seeing, and motherhood is such a beautiful example of this. You know, what did we actually do? Did we actually make these bodies? Did we actually, did we actually give birth? Which part of this did we do?
Right.
And so it's a beautiful space. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're so grateful for your divine company and your devotion and your sharing and this beautiful contribution. So safe travels.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bless you. And for bringing our dear spiritual daughter, Chintamani Devi Dasi, back to them.
Thank you for taking care of her. She loves you so much. She's so nourished coming here. So we're grateful for that.
Oh, Jai. Jai Ma. So that's really the discussion in these 4 shlokas, and I'll just read the 4, and then we can have any discussion and close. But it's this concept of of something within us arrogating, wanting to take credit for these universal processes, which are completely natural, which the body and the senses and the mind and the presiding deity are all involved in, but which the ego sense has nothing whatsoever to do with them. And yet that's what keeps popping up and keeps saying, I did. I deserve. If only. I should have. I will. I must. I cannot. But what can it do? Other than get in the way. What can it do?
Cause trouble.
It can be involved in planning. It can have some... You know what it can do? It can die. Because it's not alive anyway. It's as if it is. It's as if it is. This notion, if only, I could, I should, I didn't, I can't, and all of this little I asserting where it's nature and the deities and this body and the energies and the intelligence acting through all of this. It's the one acting, and it's such a beauty. And it's doing everything here that's being done. So the four. Learn from me, O mighty armed Arjuna, the 5 causes as declared for the accomplishment of all actions. The body, the doer. Let me read a different translation, which maybe is a little more in alignment for the Western mind. Now, Arjuna, I'll teach you the 5 constituents that, according to Samkhya Yoga, make every action happen. The seat of action, which is the body. The ego, which is the agent of action. So it does have a role because it instigates. The sense organs and the actual functioning of the body. And mind that perform actions, and the various aspects of God, the devas, which correspond to the different parts of the body. So that's the motherhood, the deva that's responsible for the sex act and all of this. These are all universal actions, which we didn't do. And in this, the ego is given credit for being an instigator. Whatever a person does, whether right or wrong, whether thought, word, or deed, these are the 5 elements that bring about each action. So whatever it is that's being done, these are the 5. This is the way it is, but people whose minds are not trained imagine themselves who are the agents of the action, who, say, I'm going to do, or I will do, but don't actually do. Does that make sense? So instigator, agent of. But imagine themselves to be the doers. So that's when we don't see. We imagine ourselves to be the doers. Or they think that the doer is the true self who is absolutely independent. Their discernment is perverted and they don't see. When you're free of the ego sense of separateness, the ahamkara, when you're free of it, your discerning intelligence, the buddhi, is no longer tainted. Though it may appear that you slay your enemies or do whatever you do, in fact, you're not the doer and you're not bound by these actions, if you see. I'll share something in alignment with this. Which really has to do with motherhood yoga and the path that you're given and all of this. You see it. The truth of the situation is you had some involvement in the precipitation of the action. But the action itself, you didn't do it. Nature took care of all of it. nature through the body, through the senses, through the universal principles. Yeah. So if you can really see that and recognize it, and recognize who Tao really is, and serve that universal, and relate to that universal, then you'll be free. But what happens is on the inside of us, there's this factor that's wanting to take credit and wanting to get something in return for it, and builds a whole expectation system around that, even though it's not actually the doer. We say the doer is divinity itself, the absolute in different forms such as the elements, such as the intelligence, such as the willpower, such as the prana, the life force itself, such as the breath. Even the physical breath, which is universal, is actually the deity, the divine. And the life that you hold in your hands is also all of these. And to the extent that we can be free of the notion that I as some individual did, and recognize the divinity in all of our actions, then life becomes divine life. In what we call the real world, because the real world is divine. Yes, and so life becomes divine life. We see it, we flow in it, we move in it, we allow for it, we relate to it, we call it forward, we revel in it. But otherwise, we get caught up in the notion of a separate life, of a needful life, and so these are the two, and getting caught up in it is the suffering. It is the seed, and the nature of the suffering is this imaginary. Chintamani Devi Dasi, thank you so much. God bless you, my dear spiritual daughter. You're so blessed, and we're so blessed that you were able to come and be with us, and to bring the sisters that you brought with us in this time, the devotees of the Lord. So travel safe, my dear one. Please stay in touch and share the photos on the group, okay?
Yes, Swamiji.
God bless you. We love you so much.
Love you so much, Swamiji. Worshipping this ashram and your good self from the ocean of separation.
Apparent ocean of separation.
Apparent. I'm the Maya, so I'm feeling I feel the separation. The unity. Thank you so much, Swamiji. Love you so much. Thank you for all the medicine you bring to this world. We're so grateful to have your association. So catch you online. Thank you for live streaming all your programs. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Gurudev. Thank you. Jai Gurudev. Om Triambakam. Safe travel. That really comes down to the fundamental choice, and that's what we come to in the Gita at this point, is this fundamental choice, which is do I cultivate the eyes of wisdom to see what's here, and the way to do is to let go of this expectation of fruit, and let the fruit be with that which is actually doing and performing the action here. Let it be, and allow yourself to be the spectator to all of this, the participant in all of this, and be in union with it. Yeah, be in balance. Oh. Okay. Any comments or questions? Yes, dear.
Yeah, what I have experienced is when the ego is quieted and seen for what it is in its capacities and what it has the ability to do to complicate life. it seems like it's so much easier to see nature as nature in the synchronicity of life as it occurs, because everything kind of just unfolds into itself and flows, and it's observable. It's when the ego
Only
comes in.
only when there's clarity. Only when there's clarity.
Yeah, but when the ego pops in, then
There's no
there's
clarity.
There's no clarity.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. But ego is not a thing. Ego is simply ignorance.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
But if
You can't find it anywhere. The closest you can get to it is the feeling of being separate.
Mm.
So it's a good way to relate to it. It's the feeling of being separate. When you find that feeling of being separate, which seems to be at the heart,
Right.
and it certainly seems to be at the heart of motivation to action, to get or to receive, or like that. That's the ego sense. But its nature is simply ignorance, which is the opposite of wisdom, the veil.
The veil.
The veil.
Oh.
And so the cure is imbibing in this knowing and
Recognizing.
yeah.
Oh.
And Jules, the big challenge that we have is that we can sit in satsang and get it, and then can we keep it during the day when things are happening? And that's really where the practice, what we were talking about earlier, is essential. What do I practice?
Mm-hmm.
How strong is my resolve? How important is it to hold on to this essential knowing? And the more important it is, then the more complete this transformation. And this is the seed of transformation, because the ego sense, when we follow it, will lead us a certain direction, which is building up a veil around us, where we're only seeing the veil and imagining it to be the world. But the opposite of it equates to letting go of that veil and being present to the divinity that's here. And these two relate to completely different life, inner life. Outer life might look the same, but the inner life is completely different. Oh. Okay. Yes, dear.
We're talking about the renunciation and the explanation of when you do your duty, it takes you closer to the goal, and if you don't do it, then it takes you further away. But like if I'm thinking, okay, my mind is telling me or doesn't want to do this duty,
Yes.
but I will do it because it takes me closer to the goal.
Well, that's Rajas. That's Rajas. You're not doing anything anyway. Just cut to the chase. You're not doing anything.
Sure.
You're just instigating it. So you might as well instigate pure action. Call forth pure action.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing anything hard.
But the
Cut to the chase.
motivation that instigates is just getting
So
closer.
pure motivation. You don't do it for yourself. That's the teaching. You don't do it for yourself. You do what's to be done.
But
You stop doing it for yourself. You stop doing it for yourself. I'm serious. You stop doing it for yourself. That's Rajasic. You stop doing it for yourself. You don't even do it for your own freedom. Now you're going to say, but then I won't do anything. Good. Let nature do it. Get the heck out of the way.
So
There's a notion that doing happens only because I want it to happen. But doing is constant here. If you haven't noticed, the atoms are doing right now. Is there breath right now?
yeah,
Who's doing that, Hari? Is it happening because you want to?
it's the dating.
No.
You see?
Yeah.
All this stuff you want to do, why do you want to do it? You just instigate what's beneficial action, what's prescribed action. And you know what is your duty because it appears in front of you.
Right.
Just do it because it's your duty. There's a notion that my duty is a terrible thing, but that's only because of the idea that it's going to make you unhappy to have to do something other than what you want to do. And what you want to do is somewhere else, but doesn't that take you away?
From the present moment. Totally.
Swami, can you speak to like
Yes, dear.
just comfort and pain? Because for me, that's like the bigger struggle, especially when I'm like tired. Like tiredness is a really big one for me.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm really tired, I just have a tendency to just be like, F it all. Like I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, I
I
understand.
just want to rest. So,
Recognize that the pains and the loss of prana, etc., have to do with misuse of prana. So when the ego notion is here, then we're engaging in actions that are utilizing prana, as it will. But when I'm doing for myself whatever it is, then I'm going to experience a loss of prana. So, so how do you approach it? To the point that Hari is making, you just do your best to do in a beneficial way, as you understand, according to the light that you have. And when you run out of prana, you run out of prana. And then at the end of the day, you start the day connecting to the divine, the best way that you can. And you start the day taking a resolve to beneficial action, to not getting all wrapped up in yourself today, to not doing for yourself today, to actually being present and serving the divine as well as you can today. And you start and you say, "Dear Lord, please help me. Here's what comes here. Dear Lord, may all that I think, say, and do this day be beneficial. May my actions today be of service. And may all know the peace and love which is in their center. And may my service contribute in some way to this." So start with something that helps to inspire you, that you can relate to. And then you take it as a real resolve. And you do your best during the day. And you remind yourself. And when the other winds come, you do your best to recognize them and not follow them. And then at the end of the day, once you've done your best, you connect once again. And you say, "Dear Lord, I did my best today. I see that I didn't do this for you. I got involved in it. I would really rather not be involved in it. I'd really rather make it an offering to you. I'd really, and please accept what I've given you. It's the best I could do today. And please help me to release it all in your hands. And then I start over again tomorrow." And so in this way we say we live according to the light we have. And more light will come. It's just like this. The higher we can place the resolve, and the less you can do for yourself, and the more you can do for the genuine benefit as an offering. Hari, do you hear that?
But
Okay.
I'm trying to like.
You don't do it for yourself anymore.
But you're still.
And you don't do it because it's beneficial to you not to do it for yourself. You actually turn your life around and you say, "I do this for you today."
And that's actually been
You stop doing for that because it's a benefit to you. You might as well just die instead of that, because that would be better. You have to really do your best to do for the benefit of all or for the benefit of something higher, not because it's good for you.
But when you recognize that you're not doing that for when you're doing something and you recognize that you're doing it out of ego, and then you make that recognition, and then you say, okay, I need to let it go, and this is
you forgive yourself.
So you just let it go. And
You forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Of course, you forgive yourself, and you're always forgiven. You are who you are. You're divine. You're divine. But at some point, we have to choose not to do something because it's a benefit to me. Right? We have that choice. We have to choose. So if you're going to do for the benefit of the ashram, that's at least higher. If you're going to do for the benefit of the community, that's at least higher. Then you're getting out of yourself some. And you don't do it for the community because it's good for you. You do it for the community because it's good for the community. Can we relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This notion of, and this is one of the fallacies in yoga that kills us, which is, and we get why it's said this way, that you want happiness and the way to be happy is to do for others. So that's a way to get our attention. But then you actually have to do for others.
Yeah.
And you have to forget the notion that you're doing for others in order to be happy. Because as long as you hold on to that, you'll never be happy.
That's right.
Because it's a fallacy. It's a lie to yourself. So it'll get your attention. I get it. But at some point you have to say, but this is a joke. What I'm doing is a joke. I'm serving others in order to get something from it. That's a joke. I have to stop this. I have to actually do because it's beneficial. My life is not my life. And I have to do for the benefit of others, period. So however you relate to what's higher, if you relate to your husband or your wife or your ashram or your community, the community that you live with, or you relate to Ma, or you relate to the child, whatever it is, it can't be you.
So it comes down to devotion, basically. That's the only thing that will pull you out of.
It's the only thing that'll pull you out. You have to relate to something higher. As long as it continues to be, then it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's just more of the same stuff. And you might touch the bliss and all of that, but the self-centered notion will be right at the center of it. And it has to be broken somehow. Somehow you have to break that pattern. However deeply we've carried it. And it's fine that you have it. It's fine that you have it. Everything's fine. Everything that brought you to this point in the path is perfect. It's fine. You know, I look at this path and I say, okay, thank you so much. And here there's a recognition of what it was. That's all. Mm-hmm. But, you know, thank you so much. And this feeling and that feeling, thank you so much. So that's all fine, but it has to change. And the motivation for it, we have to find something higher or something other in order to really get a lift out of this. And then that's why we say according to whatever light. And then as more light comes, then go higher. Go higher. And we have a relationship with Durga, whatever we have a relationship with is higher, then do our best to do something for that. And that'll break it. That'll break it. And then but also wisdom, seeing, but I'm not doing. All the stuff that I said I was doing, I'm not doing. I'm not doing any of it. And to the extent that we can see that and remind ourselves of it, yes, that also helps to get rid of this entitlement. And that's the other way we could say ego is. Ego is this feeling of self-entitlement. That I'm entitled to something here because I did this. But I didn't do it. I was the instigator. That's it. And at some point we decided, okay, I'm just going to instigate thoughts of God then. And service of God. And we're just going to do the best we can. And then more like him. Like that. Oh. And I'm sorry, Jules, you had a question or comment, and I know you're occupied now. Okay, we'll come back. We're going to close here shortly anyway. Anyone else? Question or comment? It's a very good discussion.
Well, I was going to go back to the motherhood. The spirit of motherhood is so powerful that, they've seen babies protected by cobras. It's just like, and then monkeys and gorillas will scoop up, the mothers or whatever will scoop up a baby and protect it.
Yeah.
And all sorts of animals will attack it.
And that's actually that divinity, that very specific mother divinity that we were talking about is in every... It's also in the male.
Yeah.
Of course. The man is not a man. Have you seen the spirit of motherhood come through you, dear? Yeah, right. So, and can you see that it's other than the I that I'm feeling I am? Yeah. And you see how helpful that is if you can relate to it as something other than the I that I take myself to be. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And Jules, your question we'll come back to. Okay. Motherhood is taking over. Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, let's close. Short final prayers in Arati, page 174. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Surandhim Pushtivardhanam Ordai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Surandhim Pushtivardhanam Ordai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Surandhim Pushtivardhanam Ordai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, let us abide in thee forever and ever. Humble our Satguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all of the saints and sages of all of the traditions. Jai. Okay, let's stand for Arati.